She slapped my daughter so hard blood hit the porch rail. Then she crushed her insulin pump under a high heel like it was trash. And when she called it drug paraphernalia, I didn't reach for my phone. I reached for her wrist, dragged her by the hair, and zip-tied her like the garbage she was. But you know what? That wasn't the worst part. It started like any ordinary morning. 6:30 a.m. The beep of my daughter's glucose monitor cut through the stillness like a knife. Not the gentle reminder tone, no. This was the panic scream. I was out of bed before my brain caught up. I didn't need coffee. I needed glucose tablets. Fast. My daughter, Camila, 17, smart, kind, tougher than most Marines, was already sitting up in bed, hands trembling, skin pale as snow. She looked at me and said, "Dad, I'm at 63, and dropping." Her voice was barely more than a whisper. I was by her side before she finished the sentence, slid 3 tablets into her hand, told her to breathe, sit straight, stay with me. She nodded, always so calm in the face of a storm she never asked for. That's type 1 diabetes for you. It doesn't rest. It doesn't forgive. It stalks you every damn day. By 6:50, she'd steadied, weak but upright. She grabbed her testing kit and emergency snacks and told me she was waiting on her best friend Mia to pick her up. I kissed her forehead, told her to text me if anything felt off. What I didn't know was that the next 20 minutes would change everything. There's a kind of peace in the morning light when the world hasn't quite woken up yet. Camila sat on the porch steps, quiet, watching the sun push through the trees. I was inside rinsing my mug when I heard that voice, that shrill, entitled snarl that makes your jaw lock on instinct. "Get away from my fence, you little junkie!" It was her, Madeline Harper, HOA president, queen of petty complaints and fake smiles. She came storming across her lawn like a discount dictator, silk robe flapping, designer slippers sinking in the dew. Her finger pointed straight at Camila, who was just sitting there, minding her business. I bolted outside. "Madeline," I barked, stepping between them. "She's on our property. Back off." "She's always lurking out here," Madeline hissed, tapping on her phone like she's cooking meth or something. "I've seen her with syringes." I nearly lost it right there. "They're insulin pens," I snapped. "My daughter's diabetic. That monitor you're so terrified of, it keeps her alive." But Madeline wasn't done. She sneered and said, "That's the oldest excuse in the book. Diabetes? At her age? Please. She's not sick. She's scheming." Camila, poor kid, looked up, confused and pale, clutching her monitor like a lifeline. She tried to speak, but Madeline cut her off. "I've called CPS before. Don't think I won't again. This neighborhood is not a rehab center." That's when I stepped forward, voice low, tight, deliberate. "Touch my kid again, and you'll need more than HOA bylaws to save you." She just smiled and said, "We'll see." Then, she snapped. Without warning, Madeline lunged, slapped Camila across the face so hard she tumbled off the step. Her glasses flew. Blood streamed from her brow. Camila hit the concrete like a rag doll, and before I could reach her, Madeline lifted her heel and stomped down on Camila's insulin pump. I froze. 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then I moved. I caught Madeline's wrist mid-swing, twisted it back until she screamed, and shoved her so hard she landed in the mud, silk robe soaked, slipper flying. "You touch her again," I growled, "and I swear—" "What, you'll hit a woman?" she spat, eyes wild. "No," I said, steady. "I'll stop a threat." But then Camila gasped behind me. "Dad," she whispered, "I can't see." Her blood sugar was crashing again, fast. "And Madeline?" She actually rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. More theatrics? You people are disgusting." I didn't respond. I didn't scream. I moved. Calm, cold, like every part of me had clicked into place. She opened her mouth to speak, but I was already on her. Grabbed a fistful of her hair, yanked her toward the garden wall, and slammed her face against the bricks. "You laid hands on my daughter," I said. "You shattered her lifeline. And now you're going to learn what protection really means." I didn't hit her again. I didn't need to. I dragged her over the property line, her precious white divider fence, and threw her into her own flower bed. Tulips and ceramic gnomes went flying. I ripped off my belt and zip-tied her wrists, cinched tight. She shrieked. "Good." Pinned her face into the mud, leaned down close. "You touched my daughter. You nearly killed her. You crossed a line, a sacred one." Then I dialed 911. My name is Judge Elias Morgan. I've detained a violent suspect who assaulted my minor daughter and destroyed her medical equipment. We need an ambulance and officers. Now." By the time I got back to Camilla, she was barely conscious. Her lips were turning blue. I injected her backup insulin pen into her thigh and prayed. Outside, Madeline was screaming at the arriving officers. "He attacked me! She's lying! That's not diabetes, it's heroin!" EMTs rushed past me. Police tried to get a word in. One of them, Officer Lim, asked, "Ma'am, what exactly did you do to this girl?" "I removed her drug device," Madeline barked. "I saved the neighborhood." EMT checked Camilla's vitals and said, flat out, "Her blood sugar's in dangerous range. You're lucky you didn't kill her." I stepped up beside the officers. "I'm pressing charges, assault, destruction of medical property, child endangerment, and if my daughter doesn't make it, manslaughter." That's when Madeline finally looked afraid. 3 weeks later, court was packed. Press outside, families with diabetic kids inside, signs that read, "I'm not a junkie, I'm a fighter." Camila stayed home, still healing, but she asked me not to hold back, and I didn't. Madeline tried to represent herself, claimed we were all lying, claimed diabetes was just a woke excuse for weakness. Then the prosecutor rolled the surveillance footage, full HD, every slap, every stomp, every deranged word. The courtroom went still, and then Camilla entered, pale but proud. She stepped to the podium and spoke. "My name is Camilla Morgan. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 8. I don't fit your idea of what sick looks like, but I'm still here. I fight every day, and I won't be silent anymore." Dead silence. Until the judge, Judge Raines, looked at Madeline like she was a bomb someone forgot to defuse. "Mrs. Harper," he said, "you had every chance to show remorse, or even basic humanity. You chose arrogance and cruelty," she tried to protest. "You can't be serious." "I am," he said. 2 years in custody, 5 years probation, full restitution, 500 hours of service. At a diabetes advocacy center, she screamed all the way out. 6 months later, peace. Camilla stood before a crowd, blazer sharp, insulin pump proudly visible, voice steady. 6 months ago, someone looked at my pump and called it a lie. They thought if they yelled loud enough, they could make illness seem fake. They were wrong. And me? I stood in the back, silent, proud, holding my breath like a prayer. You know. Madeline never stopped screaming, even behind bars. The director at the center sent us a note, said she refuses to help, still blames everyone else, still thinks she's the victim. But that day, Camilla wasn't just surviving anymore. She was leading. She turned pain into steel and ignorance into fire. And as we walked home that evening, she slipped her hand into mine and asked, "Do people like her ever stop?" I said, "No, sweetheart. But eventually they bury themselves in their own noise." Yeah, that happened. So let me ask you, was justice served? Was I right to act the way I did? Or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And don't hold back.